I will begin by posing the first question. It's because I happen to have a little bit of background information. I know Wang Yiyang in the past has spoken about this issue of globalization in regard to Chinese fashion, and this question of the over-influence of global concerns upon local design. I wonder if he might speak further about that at this point.
这个，我觉得国际的品牌，我不知道用冲击来说是不是合适，因为至少我个人觉得国际品牌，因为如果用冲击来说，就变成一个非常中文里是一个很贬义的词，就觉得是侵占了我的地盘，或者说使我受到这个压迫这种感觉。但我觉得我并没有觉得国际品牌会带给我这样一种感觉。我想这更多是一种非常正常的现实。我想不只对中国，对所有的这个非西方的国家都是一样的这个状况。所以我觉得更多应该是我觉得可以看成是一种交流，或者说一种文化上的一种或者商业上的交流。所以我并不觉得这个国际品牌的在中国是对中国的一种冲击。
Personally, I don't find there's any kind of threat or shock to me. I think that's just part of reality and a normal part of cultural exchange.
We can see that from Shanghai Tan's design that it apparently capitalized on the Chineseness, right? Those Chinese elements in that design concept. But you as a designer, do you think that's important for you to emphasize on that particular Chinese touch to your design?
如果我们要看上海滩的那种设计的话，中间会有很多的这种中国元素，他们在利用。你觉得这个对你的设计中间是一个什么关系？你必须要使用这种中国元素吗？这些元素在你的设计中是一个什么样的位置？
我觉得应该有，但是是不太一样的，因为我想这个您刚才说这个上海滩这个品牌，我自己感觉更多是西方人眼里的中国的一个形象，或者他理解的这个中国的东西。那我在想，可能现在非常多的不只是服装设计，在几乎所有的这个设计领域，就中国的设计领域都会面临这样一个问题，就是说我是用一个现成的中国的符号去做东西，还是用一种中国人的方式去做？我想这是一个很关键的，所以我更希望是用一种中国人的方式对待处理，比如在设计当中对待材料的方式，一种尺度感，一种空间感去来做设计，而不是用一个现成的传统的符号。因为这种方式，我觉得在很多第三世界国家的这个或者说非西方的国家里面，为了希望西方能认同它的设计，都在使用这个。不只是中国，我觉得很多的其他的国家也是用这样的方法在做设计。但我觉得这不是一个现代的方式，我觉得没有太大的意义，就是。
Definitely, there are these so-called Chinese elements in my design, but my understanding of Shanghai Tang is it's the Chinese style as the Western world understands it, because the Western, I think in design, not just fashion design, but in many areas of design, there's this symbol of the Chineseness that the Western world is ready to accept. That's one approach of doing it, but I would prefer the other way, which is designing the Chinese way, which is the Chinese way of handling material, space, etc. Because I've seen in many third world or non-Western countries, designers are using these symbols to cater to Western taste or their understanding of this elements.
我想问那个鲁坤设计师，你好，你最后说的一句话就是最后一个词，为什么你认为上海女人是这样？就是哪方面何以见得？我想了解一下，谢谢。麻烦张老师帮我翻译一下，谢谢。
Okay, I think it's about that word. She's wondering about why Shanghai women are called bitchy. I was talking with Lu Kun. Sorry, she was saying some in Shanghai it's called 很作, right?
Yeah, it's complicated to deal with, and maybe 1 minute she's happy, a minute later she's throw those like the bottle to the boyfriend or husband. You never know, and it's difficult to catch their mood.
你能用上海，你用中国话说一遍，我不是很理解。
就是上海女人很作啊，因为她们非常复杂，不是说衣服一定要做的复杂，是你整个展现的形式可以把这个意识形态所体现出来的话，就是有看头啊。为什么你觉得中国的旗袍就是一条裙子开了一个高叉，但是它在上面做的很多这种省道啊什么，还有领口啊、滚边啊，相对还是比较复杂的吧？
对，但是你不认为这是因为上海女人的一种挑剔，才使得你们这些设计师是为了满足这种要求而不断进步呢？
市场如果有这个需要，那设计师一定要提供。如果当年上海女人没有觉得满洲的旗袍就像个大袍子套在身上不够性感的话，他们不会去找到裁缝去把它改得小小的话，那今天的服装，中国的国粹怎么会展现在别人面前呢？
是啊。
We should get some translation for that.
Okay. All right. I think the word bitchy is probably from what he's saying. It's something like very capricious, very difficult to predict. The making of the qipao, for example, is not just a long big tube with a high slit. It's not. It's very more complicated than that. And he was just saying, if the Shanghai women didn't ask to make the qipao more fitting or appropriate for their lifestyle, we wouldn't know qipao as it is today.
A follow-up question to that is, do you think there's a role for the designer to be a critic and to not simply cater to the whims of the audience, but to have a critical statement about the roles people are playing and the function of the objects they make?
接下来一个问题就是说，你觉得时装设计师除了为了顾客做服装，有没有必要还是承担一个批评的角色，包括评价自己服装在生活中的作用等等？
我觉得作为一个服装设计师的话，非常俗套的一句话就是灵感来源于生活，因为在生活当中有这个需要，我们就设计这个产品。在我的理解当中，其实服装设计是非常无聊的，是一种非常机械化的工作。
As a designer, I'm going to say something really trite, which is inspiration really comes from life, because a lot of that designing process is really very tedious, very boring.
I have a simple question to Yi Yang. Quite alien from many designers in your field, such as Lu Kun. We know you graduated from the professional college on design. So, I mean, that kind of background, the experience of studying in a college, how does that background influence your working style as well as the attitude to your art, to your attitude to customers, even to sexy women? Should I translate in Chinese? 我就想问这个王一阳，就是我们知道你是这个从那个专业的设计院校毕业的，可能陆坤先生他更多的是一个裁缝的这样一个经历，一个更面对直接跟客户交流的这样经历会更长一些。我就想就在专业院校学习的这样一个经历，对您这个在设计风格还有对客户的，包括对你们职业观念这个形成有什么样的影响啊？谢谢。
你说那个 sex woman 什么意思？
对，还有一个就是包括对这个你的客户，比如说女性客户，你对他们的需求这方面的理解会有什么样的不同？就这样。
实际上，我个人觉得没有任何这个专业的我所经历的专业的学习没有任何的作用。为什么这么说？因为我是大概80年代末90年代初在中国学的服装设计。那么这个阶段中国的设计教育是非常非常原始的。我所有的老师都没有真正设计的经验，然后都是从纯艺术的这个行业里转过来的，所以那个时候中国应该没有真正意义上的设计教育，所以我们的学的设计是在工作以后自学出来的，我只是拿了一个文凭而已。
Personally speaking, I think that part of the education background served no function in my later designs. All it gave me was a certificate. Because in the late 80s and early 90s, the fashion design education was quite primitive. None of my design teachers had any prior experience in fashion design. They all came from the art world. And I pretty much whatever I know right now, I learned it after I got my job and taught myself.
我用中文问，然后自己翻译，谢谢。是我有个问题，就是去年在北京尤伦斯做了一个展览，是迪奥跟艺术家合作做了这么一个展览。那他们艺术家做了很多装置啊，或者对这种消费文化的一些评论也好，你如何看待这一种，就是大品牌现在在中国利用艺术来阐述他们这个奢侈品牌的这个地位？然后您也跟设计师就是建筑师合作做了这么一个作品，我相信你也在其他时间段也做过这种合作。那么我就想问一下，你们是不是在创造一种叙事，就是说设计里面的一些叙事方式是跟大品牌是不一样的？因为你们的那个衣服的价位其实是很贵的，不是我们虽然看得很简单，但是其实不是北领阶层很容易能消费的。Okay, so last year in Beijing UCCA, Yulin's Center of Arts, Dior commissioned a series of projects with artists. And some of the projects' installations made direct commentary on consumer culture. So I was wondering if they could talk about this kind of corporate strategies to use brands in relationship to art production to elevate their status as a luxury brand. And if, as designers now, you are constructing new ways to tell stories as designers or designer narratives through your work, for example, the collaboration with the architect and other ways that you've collaborated with other sorts of designing or ways to produce new narratives in your work.
这个因为那个迪奥那个展览我没有看过，所以我不太好说。但是我想我们跟这个刚才那个建筑师的展览，我想这里面我们有一个意图，就是说，我更希望是比如说跟我们差不多同时代的这些其他领域的设计师、年轻设计，他们在考虑些什么？就是说，比如说他在做一个什么样的尝试，我非常希望就是说我们互相有一个是交流也好，支持也好。比如说他在我的院子里做一个小的展览，那我可以明白他为什么这样做，他这个设计的一个有趣的地方在哪里，他是怎么思考，怎么去实现他的想法。那我想更多是然后我也希望我的客人在进到这个店里的时候，他也能有这种体验。所以这个我不知道这个迪奥是怎么考虑这个问题的。我想但是我只是非常简单的希望，比如说同样是这些中国的设计师，我希望能比如说其中一些我个人非常有兴趣的，我希望通过这样一种方式，能够有一种 有一种彼此的像是一种支持吧。我觉得当然这个程度非常非常有限，但是我觉得就是说你发现一群人跟你一起在思考或者相似的问题的时候，你会觉得非常有趣，然后你非常希望跟他有交流。我想这是一个最本能的一个意愿。
I'm not in a position to comment on Dior and what's their intent in what they're doing. I did not get to see that show. But for me, I'm very interested in working with designers in other areas that are my age and look at their attempts and have an opportunity to support each other and exchange ideas and look at how their thinking were realized through their efforts. And our customers, whenever they walk into my shop, they will gain from that experience as well. So this process I find very interesting, and it's also part of a support.
So lots of little questions. You can answer what you want. Where are your clothes made? What are your other influences? Is there a cult of designers like there is in New York? In the US, like Project Runway? Is there a model obsession here, or is it mostly celebrity culture? My sister's worked as a fashion model agent for 20 years, so I'm interested in sort of what the scene looks like here. Is there a fashion week in Shanghai?
There is a fashion week. There's actually several different international fashion weeks. There's television, International Film Festival week, and the stars come out and they're wearing Lu Kun's dresses, and yes, it's all quite exciting and grown over the years. So to answer that, Shanghai sees itself, I'll speak on behalf of these gentlemen, as this fashion mecca. And precisely because the way Shanghai women go after fashion. I ride the subway a lot, and I enjoy riding the subway because I can watch fashion walk by me loaded on the subways. It's brilliantly fun. So that's the answer to that. Whether it's a model, I don't think models are the drivers yet. It is the stars, the TV and movie stars that are driving fashion. I don't know if you have an addition to that comment. Lu Kun and I agree completely. And I agree with his comment. I had one more thing about, there's a book called Wei Chang. Wei Chang? Wei Chang. Wei Chang. Wei in the Chang.
Wei Chang.
Yeah, Wei Chang, yeah.
Yes.
This book, the young lady is not looking at me, but she might want to read the book. Has she read the book Wei Chang? Wei Chang.
Wei Chang.
Wei Chang, in Chinese. It's a great book. It's translated in English as well. If you don't understand, I think it's a compliment what Lu Kun has said about Shanghai women. And if you are like Parisian women, it's a very similar comment Europeans might make about a Parisian woman. But the book Wei Chang will capture the sense of what he's talking about. That's my comment.
Okay, Akbar.
Okay. One of the comments I'd like to make is how different all the different designers are. I think we've discussed three, and I think they're different for different reasons. If you look at Shanghai Tang, which partly started off life in Hong Kong, as I understand, the success of Shanghai Tang is as much a marketing phenomenon, or more a marketing phenomenon than a design phenomenon, and social phenomenon as well. Because I think it comes at a moment when I think our sense of history is being blurred. We're forgetting what history is, and what you then have is a kind of instant history, right? Shanghai Tang gives you an image of what Shanghai history is. It's like instant history in the sense of instant noodles. You get a kind of quick, easy way of it. So at one level, I think that sort of design is very different from the design of the two designers we have here. Now, I think Wang Yigang's design is very interesting. One of the things I was interested in is the way your models pose, right? That they laugh, they're amateurs, they are, as it were, not necessarily glamorous models. You make use of certain local details which might be exaggerated and so on and so forth. You work with other artists, so that's that level as well, and you design chairs and so on. But one of the things I think which would contrast your kind of fashion design with Lu Quan's is that to a certain extent the design has a certain androgynous look to it. Right? I mean, it's and the androgynous look, as it were, then allows you to put the emphasis on fun, on humor, on play, which I think is very interesting. Because at one level, as it were, a certain kind of sexuality and humor don't really go together. I mean, humor and sexuality don't really go together. I mean, if you look at the the top fashion magazines, the models never smile because they're always like this either stupid or mysterious look to them. But your work, of course, takes that somewhere else. So the stress then would be on texture, on structures, and so on. Now, we come to Lu Quan, which is also, I think, interesting for me in a different way. I mean, one of the things, of course, that your models are much more like, how should we put it, glamorous, right? Much more sexy in a certain way. And I think this relationship to Galliano is actually quite interesting. Not that I think you are influenced directly by him, right? But there are certain things that remind us of Galliano.
Well, I hope my style just reminds you how glamour Shanghai was during the 1920s and 30s, and how Shanghai women can dress glamour and sexy.
I'm coming to that, right? I'm coming to that. Because I think the point about, I think this is what is interesting about your relation to Galliano. Because what Galliano does, right, as you know, is that he looks at either Shanghai women or Asian women, right, or women in general, and what he sees is, of course, this mystery, right, the mystery of women. But it's like, for him, this mystery is also something that can come through a kind of orientalizing, right? So the mystery of the Oriental woman, which of course you get in Galliano. Now, with you, I think it might be a kind of slight reversal of that, right? I mean, I think you also find from your comments as well, you also think in terms of the mystery of women. So that's why they're beautiful. They don't smile. They look extremely attractive, and the dress is sort of.
Honestly. My photo shoot, because it's a business, fashion is a business. I have to fit most taste from the audience and the market. But most my lady in the real life, whenever they put on my dress, they all smile. They are so happy.
I'm not criticizing you. I'm not criticizing you.
No, I know. I just try to explain.
Right. No, I'm comparing, for example, your first, the first photos you show us, which is women who bought your dress, and those could be happy, right?
Yes.
But I think that, the image you project in your haute couture style is this image of it's like your.
Well, it sounds sad because we have to survive. We have to build these fake image, and what people love fashion because they could never reach those image. They always catch those things, and for designer as well. And why we love those inspiration come from the 20s and 30s in Shanghai, because we never was born in those ages, and we always use our imagination to think how glamour. Maybe that time wasn't such glamour. We always imagine too much.
Do you think your work has a relationship to the work of Shanghai Tang? And I'll stop on that.
Well, I don't see there's a very strong connection or relationship with Shanghai Tan, but I guess Shanghai Tan's owner and I have the same goal, which is show the Shanghai glamour and the Shanghai woman. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very. We have one comment in the back, and that'll be our final, and then we'll stop. Yes.
I just want to try together a couple of observations in the context of history of textiles and embroidery in the Yangtze River Delta, and then ask a couple of questions. As almost everybody knows, there's an extraordinary history of silk and embroidery textile work in this region, the wider region. And you go down Maoming, Nanlu, and you still see some of this very fine work in the clothing there. So at the same time, as everybody knows who's walked around here and poked into the shops, there are a lot of garments for sale which have high-end European designer brand labels. And some of these are fake and some of these are real. And it looks like a certain amount of them are real. But then turn it over to you. Because when you're in the Pearl River Delta and around Hong Kong, you don't see this very high-end designer labels coming, sort of falling off the truck, if you will. And so one could make the hypothesis that a lot of the European and other high-end brand name clothing manufacturers are getting their garments made in this region, in the wider Yangtze River Delta region, where the factories are out there somewhere in the Delta. I don't know if I'm right, but this is I'm sort of asking if that's true, if some of the higher end European stuff is made in this region as opposed to down in Guangdong. And if that's true, if there's a kind of mixing of learning from some of these styles, like people are out there working these factories or these laundries and they see these styles, and then there's this kind of, hybridity is an overused word, but you do see this kind of mixing of design styles coming in here. And I've been coming in and out of this region for 20 years. And one of the things that's I've noticed over time is if you go around the world from the US to Europe to Asia and you're looking at contemporary fashion design, I don't mean cheap out, but I mean contemporary stuff, is that this region is typically ahead of the US in terms of design. In practice, it's like Europe, Asia, US. You will see styles here that you then see in the US 6 months later. Now I know that the time is getting crunched and these things are more coeval increasingly around the same time with places like Zara and whatever. But I just wonder if there's some reality of the manufacturing, the design kind of diffusing into here, and if there's any interaction over this at all, or if these are just really separate realms and we're just making it up as we walk down the street.
Yes, the Asian woman, there's another design element you're missing, is that from Korea and Japan.
Oh yeah, no, right.
In Asia, the Japanese, the Korean designers have a huge impact here, especially that androgynous look. That comes from Japan originally. But the influence is definitely from the European side before the American side. Now, I don't want to irritate too much, but I'm racking my brain to think of an American designer. Give me a name. Forget Ralph.
Marc Jacobs.
Marc Jacobs, okay. Marc Jacobs, there we go.
Yeah. And Kate Spee. And Phil.
Well, no, but I agree. Okay, we got Donna
Philip
Karen.
Lam.
Oh, Philip Lam. Okay,
Yeah,
but he's
and-
really new. Okay, so.
And what else? Oscar de la Renta.
Okay, he's a classic. He's probably your role model. So there's some good, okay, thank you for bringing this to my name because I live in China for so long. Yeah, Donna Karen, okay, I should have known that because Liz Claiborne had a license with her brand. But if you go around with the Shanghai woman, and there's some Shanghai women here, but when you look at the magazines, the fashion magazines, and you see what pictures are being shown of the brands, and women go abroad to shop, the impact here is the Gap look, You know, there's the Gap look, right? And that's, huh?
Very practical, very American lifestyle.
Very American lifestyle. So it's a lifestyle in a sense. So it's a mishmash here, definitely. But my Chinese friends, women my age and a little bit younger, when they're looking for fashion, they're looking at Europe before the U.S. When they want to dress to go hiking in the mountains or walking on the street, or then it goes to that more American lifestyle, which I don't, you know, maybe that is a fashion, but I don't know if we're talking about high fashion or low fashion. So that's kind of a mixed up answer for you, but maybe you can throw it now to the gentleman.
You can just stop here. Well, thank you very much to our guests, and they'll stay around, and if you have any further questions, you may ask them individually. Thank you very much.